With regard to my far-famed Balmoral journey, I will relate it truly as it happened. 'Twas on a bright summer morning in the month of July, 1878, I left Dundee en route for Balmoral, the Highland home of Her Most Gracious Majesty, Queen of Great Britain and Empress of India. 2 days later, footsore and weary, longing for rest, I had wended my way as far as the Spittal of Glenshee, which is the most dismal to see, with its bleak rocky mountains and clear crystal fountains with their misty foam, and thousands of sheep there together do roam, browsing on the barren pasture, blasted like to sea, stunted in heather, and scarcely a tree, and black-looking cairns of stones as monuments to show where people have been found that were lost in the snow, which is cheerless to behold, and as the traveller gazes thereon, it makes his blood run cold, and almost makes him weep, for a human voice is seldom heard there, save the shepherd crying to his sheep. By 12 o'clock the next day, I'd come in sight of the Castleton of Braemar, 12 miles from Balmoral. And Balmoral Castle is magnificent to be seen, island home of the Empress of India, Great Britain's Queen, with its beautiful pine forests nearby the River Dee, where the rabbits and hares do sport in mirthful glee, and the deer and the roe together do play all the livelong summer day in sweet harmony together, while munching the bloomin' heather, with their hearts full of glee, in the green woods of Balmoral, nearby the River Dee. I arrived at the lodge gates of the Palace of Balmoral just as the tower clock chimed 3, and when I crossed the little bridge that spans the River Dee, which has been erected by Her Majesty, I walked boldly forward and knocked loudly at the Porter Lodge door, and it was immediately answered by the 2 constables that are there day and night. And one of them asked me, in a very authoritative tone, what I wanted. And of course I told him I wanted to see Her Majesty. And he repeated, "Who do you want to see?" And I said I was surprised to think he should ask me again after telling him distinctly that I wanted to see Her Majesty. Then I showed him Her Majesty's royal letter of patronage for my poetic abilities, and he read it and said it was not Her Majesty's letter. And I said, "Whose is it then? Do you take me for a forger?" Then he said, "Sir Thomas Biddulph's signature is not on the letter." But I told him, "It is on the envelope." And he looked and found it to be so. Then he said, "Why didn't you tell me that before?" And I said, "I forgot." Then he asked me what I wished him to do with the letter, and I requested him to show it to Her Majesty or Sir Thomas Biddulph. He left me standing out in the cold in front of the lodge, wondering if he would go up to the palace as he pretended. However, be that as it may, I know not, but he returned with an answer as follows. "Well, I've been up at the castle with your letter, and the answer I got for you is, they cannot be bothered with you," said with great vehemence. "Well," I replied, "it cannot be helped." So I bade him goodbye and retraced my steps in search of a lodging for the night. 3 days later, I arrived in Dundee on Saturday, early in the day, footsore and weary, but not in the least discouraged. So ends my ever-memorable journey to Balmoral.